Hello and welcome to Computer Science 237 Data Structures and Algorithms. I'm your instructor, Dr. Anthony Varghese. And in this video we will start looking at some of the basics of C++. So we want to get started in C++ and then we will then move on to the actual data structure. So there's a long time that we'll have to spend learning about C++. Essentially the same things that you learned probably in Java. So I'm assuming that everyone who's watching this has learned Java and knows how to use the object-oriented features of Java. And in this course, what we will do is learn how to use C++. Okay, so the kinds of things we want to get to in this section of this set of videos is a basic introduction to C++. Look at basic variables, expressions, assignment statements. A lot of these things are going to be exactly the same as Java. Some of them slightly different. What is definitely different is doing things like I/O or input-output to the console. The console meaning usually the terminal, or if you're using Eclipse, there's a special pane called console, special window or sub-window called a console, and that's where input and output will occur if it's not a graphical user interface. Okay, then we will look at program style, and then later on I guess we will look at libraries and namespaces. Okay. So C++ came from C, so it is related to there was a existing high-level language called C, and then C++ came from that. So there are low-level languages, including machine language. No one really codes in machine language. There might be a few people, but most people don't. There are quite a few people who code in assembly language, and if you are a computer science major or minor and you take computer organization, that is computer science 355, assembly language is one of the topics that's going to be covered in that course. So, and besides these low-level languages, there are high-level languages. It used to be that people only used low-level languages like assembly, maybe very rarely machine code, but most people have moved on to high-level languages. So for example, C, Java, C++ is one of them. Some people use Ada, COBOL, Fortran. Those are all high-level languages. These are older. COBOL and Fortran are older, and C came after that, and after that came C++. Ada was a little bit older than C++, and C++ does have some of the features of this programming language Ada. In this course, we will try to do some object-oriented programming in C++. That is basically we will be using classes. So if you've used classes in Java or C#, then you know how to do object-oriented programming basically. So we will learn how to do object-oriented programming in C++. We will spend quite a bit of time on the language. Why? Just because we have to know the programming language well enough so that we can do data structures. Okay, and we will look at C++ terminology, how to write a program, how to write functions. So I want to just say one thing about the word function. In this course and in the book, that is the Savage book on Absolute C++, the author uses the term function rather than the term method. So in Java, when you were learning Java, chances are all of the member methods that you learned probably will translate into equivalent C++ code, but not all of them, but a lot of them. But in this course, we will refer to them and what looks like methods as functions. That's just terminology. Okay. And then we will look at basic input-output. We'll actually do that really soon. It's probably the next thing that we will do. So there is a sample C++ program, and then there's a couple of ways to set up C++ programs. If you're using Linux, which is what I would highly recommend for this entire course, use Linux. There's a couple of ways to do it. You can actually type this in at the terminal using a program like VI, or if you like Emacs, something like that, and do everything at the terminal. That's possible. And those of you who are taking operating system programming, you will be doing a lot of C programming using this style of editing files, using VI and so on. You can also do this on a Mac OS X machine if you install all of the developer code, like the C compilers and Xcode. Basically, these days, the way it's set up, if you have something newer than 10.6, I believe you have to download Xcode. Even though you don't really need Xcode, you will use all of the developer libraries and things. So that is a viable option. And I'm actually using a Mac OS X machine right now to make this video. So Mac OS X is fine if you install all of the developer code using Xcode. And Linux is fine. I have a live DVD ready for people. And if using Windows, there is a slight problem. We want to develop portable code, that is code that you can write once and then maybe take to different machines, or develop once and the same way on many platforms. Unfortunately, the main platform for writing code on Windows machines is Visual Studio. Problem with that, it's a perfectly fine system, but not everybody has Windows, and therefore not everybody can use that style of programming. So there is a different style, there's a different default set of behaviors in Visual Studio that are not going to work for other platforms. And in this course, a lot of you assume are taking Csis 248, which focuses on Unix and Linux. And because of that, it's a lot easier to work in Linux or equivalently Mac OS X. So in those kinds of environments, you have a command prompt. So this is the command prompt, and you can list files and so on. It's empty in this file, in this folder. And so I will start out with a command prompt. Can you do the same kind of thing in Windows? Yes, you can, but you have to install a couple of, install a few things. One way to do this would be to use Cygwin. The other way would be to use MinGW. So you have to install this other packages, and you can follow along in Windows as well. It does take a little bit of work to get these things working. So those there you'll find links to it on the D2L site. I'm not going to discuss it right now, but I'm hoping that you guys can get this set up on your own. And if you run into problems, of course, contact me and I'll be glad to help you out. Okay, so let's write a simple program. And I am going to use VI. So first of all, file extension. So your C program has to go into a file. You can use anything you want. Actually, there's a bunch of options. CPP is good. That's what Eclipse will use. So later on, after we're done with this, we will look at Eclipse. Eclipse is quite a bit more portable, and so we will look into Eclipse as well. Okay, so now I can enter stuff. I just pressed I to insert. I'm going to put in pound include. This is like your import statements in Java. Okay. And then you can, so this is just like having like importing a package in Java. This is saying I'm going to use IOStream. I need that to print stuff out to the screen and so on. And this is sort of another component of importing. We'll need this as well. And I'm going to simplify this. I'm just going to maybe type in a couple of things. So this is not going to be exactly the same as the sample program in the notes. Okay. And so what I'm doing here, hopefully if everything works, this is saying console out. This C out is console out. This is the insertion operator. This says put this string into this stream. Insert the string into the stream. And then insert an end line. So basically this is just like saying in Java system.out.println, hello everybody, and a print line actually adds a new line at the end of the string, and that's what we are doing here in C++. So there's a console out and then there's a console in. Well, actually before we do that, let's just do that. Cin. Oh yeah, we do have to do something else. So okay, we'll do that. And then we'll say that we're declaring a variable just like in Java. So this part, that statement will look familiar. And then finally we will get an input from the user. Okay, and then we'll say cout, and we'll say put in a few spaces, and then the number, and then okay, and then a new line. Okay, so that's a simple program with input and output. We want to print out hello everybody, how many languages have you used, and we declare a variable called number, get some input, and then print out some message back. So let's save this. I'll put :WQ, and here's how you compile a program. Say G++ -O first, and then the name of the program. Okay, and then how do you run it? You say /first. How many languages have you used? Let's say 1. And we're done. So there is a very basic C++ program. I'm going to list out the contents again and you can look at it. And you might want to just try this out. And even if you don't understand how this works, definitely it's a good program to just try out. And in the next video we will look at how to do this in Eclipse.